everyone, it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. This is your extended video with me one-to-one with regards to a little bit more about the details of January 2020 and some of the other things in 2020 that I'd like you to kind of keep an eye out for. So in my first video I did cover a fair amount of information, so I'm not going to be repeating it, but I may just give you like dates and things like that. So when I looked at this new moon eclipse that we had in December of 2019, together with the eclipse, the full moon eclipse, in January, around the 10th, 11th of January at 20 degrees of Cancer, I felt that one of the charts that were being affected a fair amount is Queen Elizabeth's chart, and Charles's to some extent too. So I think it'll be interesting to see what develops over 2020 for sure, but Queen Elizabeth may make some announcements, as well as Prince Charles, in the press or in a speech to actually let her people know what's going to be going on from now on. I suspect that that's going to become more concrete. There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Understandably, she likes to keep things under wrap. But the other thing that we have with this whole conjunction that will be happening at 22 degrees of Capricorn on the 11th or 12th of January is that the moon at that time will actually be at 16 degrees of Leo, and this will conjunct Prince Charles's Pluto, right? So that's transformation, emotional transformation, but the moon will also represent the people, you know, in the UK as well. So again, that's going to be towards the 11th or 12th of January. So the other thing that we have happening is Jupiter conjuncts the south nodes, and of course, by extension, it will also be opposite the north nodes of the moon. And to me, this is just, Jupiter can be about us looking at our future, and I think that that's what this is. This is us having a course correction with regards to what our future is going to be. When we look at that eclipse that we had, or having on the 20th of 20 degrees of Cancer around the 10th of January, this is going to represent a culmination from the new moon eclipse that we had in Cancer, and that was in July of 2019. So would I maybe look back to see what new things you started, new ideas that you had in July 2019, because they're going to become to some kind of culmination at the full moon eclipse that we have on the 10th of January 2020. We have Uranus going stationary direct also on the 11th of January at 2 degrees of Taurus. So this is significant too. So this I mentioned in my previous video, but I also think this could be like a jolt. Uranus is all about shaking us up and waking us up. So some of us, depending where this is in your chart, so we're looking at 2 degrees of Taurus, this could be a big shake-up, and it could be a shake-up perhaps in the world too. This could also be a time of shaking of the earth, right? Because we have Taurus involved here, and the actual event of Uranus going stationary direct. We have Mars in Sagittarius all of January 20. And I think this is a nice energy. You know, Mars is all about giving us energy and thrust. And it's going to give us the energy to see through things, especially with regards to our future and where we think we should be going. We're going to be having a lot of energy in that area. But it could also kind of stir things up with regards to foreign nations. That's the other thing too that Sagittarius rules is foreign nations and foreign people. Somehow they could be coming more into focus for us. So let's just go over a little bit more about some of the things that Jupiter in Capricorn can represent for us in our charts. It talks about being cautiously optimistic. It also talks about restrained optimism. But positively, it can give us rewards. So rewards is the Jupiter part of it. And for working hard. The working hard part of it is Saturn. And it says also that it's time for this, and time is represented by Kronos or Saturn as well. But remember that growth and expansion is going to happen through hard work and careful planning. There's going to be a strong sense of benevolent justice, where we're contributing to the higher good. Again, this is bringing us to our higher levels of consciousness. So this isn't just Jupiter doing this, but it's also Uranus shaking us up and asking us to, have these higher levels of consciousness when we go about our day-to-day life. Jupiter rules the law. It rules that legal process. Persons in power, including governments and officials. I thought it was interesting when I looked at this, because this is a new decade, I thought I'd look towards the end of this decade. And at the end of this decade, we end the decade by having Venus in retrograde in Capricorn. Right? Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So on the 15th of Jan, we have the Sun conjuncting Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. So this certainly is a lot of power coming about with regards to structures and powerful people. This could be a time or a day where we hear from those in power putting down maybe some laws, or making things happen in big business, big government. On the 17th of Jan, we have Mercury following Venus's trail by going into Aquarius. So this could just give us some unique ways of expressing ourselves. We may get actually some unique thoughts, downloads from the universe coming in to give us some good ideas. We have Mars, which will be sextiling Uranus at this time too. So yeah, we really could have some unique ways of expressing who we are. And in fact, there may be some things, in the press or on the internet or on the news, that will be unusual things coming our way of people expressing themselves where maybe we've not heard them express themselves or seen them express themselves this way. But we could be doing this individually too, where we're no longer afraid of being who we are, exactly who we are. On the 21st of Jan, we have Mercury will conjunct the north nodes. Now, this will be a time of us perhaps having to make some adjustments in either our thought processes or the way we speak and present ourselves. We may decide to make some small adjustments here with regards to how we want to make announcements about what our future path is going to be. Or we may just change up some of the way we think and bring in some more of that spiritual way of thinking or higher levels of consciousness with regards to what we're reaching for in our future. That we include a lot of that. On the 24th of Jan, we do have that new moon at 4 degrees 21 minutes of Aquarius, and then we've got those squares happening with Uranus as well as Venus and Mars. So this may bring up some uncomfortable things where we have to let go of either relationships, friendships, or money, but that we may be given some opportunities to do this in a pleasant way and not in such a difficult way, especially if we bring in or harness in some kind of spiritual aspect. So we have Venus in Pisces now, right, at this new moon in Aquarius. So I would say, or even just pleasant speech, and the music's involved also with Pisces here and Venus being in it. So it just could be a pleasant time where, although something may be happening in the background that's not so great, that you're still being given something that makes you feel a little bit better, at least opportunities for that. But it is a new change here that's being asked. And with Aquarius, again, it's bringing in that uniqueness of our individual selves. All right, that happens at 1:42 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 24th. On the 27th of Jan, we have Venus conjuncting Neptune at 16 degrees. And we also have the Sun conjuncting Jupiter. Well, this is a beautiful day. All around, beautiful day to make love and money and music. Just summing it up. So yeah, earmark that 27th of Jan as just a pleasant day. Especially even just to daydream about what you're imagining 2020 is going to be for you. Imagine some nice, pleasant, sweet, and beautiful things. It could also be a day when you come into some money. Love might come your way, like a spiritualized love. When we've got Venus and Neptune together, and then the Sun and Jupiter, this is just like a beautiful romance. So let me know if that happens for you. I'm interested. So through the whole of 2020, we have this whole Saturn, Pluto conjunction, but then we also have Jupiter in the mix, all in Capricorn. We also have, I wanted to make sure you remember that we have eclipses still left that are going to be happening in Cancer as well as Capricorn, mostly in Cancer. So in January, I've already talked about the eclipse in January, but we also have one in June and July that are going to be happening in Cancer. And then we also have an eclipse happening in Capricorn in July as well. So we're still not out of these eclipses for Cancer and Capricorn yet. But we are going to be starting the eclipses that'll be happening now in Sagittarius and notably Gemini. So the north nodes are going to be moving into Gemini. In May time period, it'll be going to 0 degrees. More concretely, it'll be June. So then we're going to have eclipses happening in Gemini as well as Sagittarius. So those Geminis and Sagittarius, you're due to have for the next year and a half from May 2020 some big changes in your life. So look to 20 years ago and what was happening, what areas of your life changed for you. All right, so that's that. So I want to look at next what area of your chart by your ascendant where we have this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto all in Capricorn, where that's going to be in your chart. So Jupiter wants to expand, Saturn wants to restrict, and Pluto wants to transform you. So it's all three of those energies that'll be occurring in maybe more than one area of your chart, but I'm going to just be sticking with one house. If you want, you can certainly post a comment to me and we can look at maybe your individual chart and share that with folks as well. But in the background with all this, we also have in an earth sign too, in Taurus, we have all year, we have Uranus there, okay? And this is going to be in the background moving and shaking things literally and figuratively as well. All right, so keep that in mind. It's those energies that we're looking at for 2020. I'm going to start with you, Capricorn, because everything is pretty well happening in your sign. So this is your first house, Capricorn. And this is really about yourself. What surrounds you, your physical self. And then you've got two eclipses that are going to be happening in Cancer, which is opposite your sign. So in June and July. So I would say that, this year, Capricorn is you can earmark this as probably the most significant year, maybe of your entire life. And of course, a lot of these things that are happening are once in a lifetime. We'll certainly have Jupiter coming in there again, but we won't have this conjunction of Pluto and Saturn together. This is major transformation for you. So 2020 represents a year, Capricorn, of you making major transformations. You may completely change the way you look on the outside, but you may also change completely how you operate on the inside, where you just make these major changes. It could have you buying a new home, leaving a city or a town that you live in, and going somewhere completely different. You could change all your relationships. That could change too. This could be the year that you retire, right? or you make some major changes in that area of your chart. I mean, in terms of like ruling collectively, you know, we have Capricorn and Saturn really looking at like the 10th house area. The 10th house is your career. So there could be some major changes in your career. And as long as you know, this is the key for, you know, all signs, but especially Capricorn, because I'm talking about you right now, that the changes that you are required or being required to make, that you make easily, as opposed to clinging to things and saying, no, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to make this work. It doesn't mean that hard work isn't going to go down really well this year for you. It can. But ask yourself, have I had more than one message about letting this go? That's probably a good way of doing it. Let it go. This is probably one of the most important times where you do have to let things go as they leave your life. You're going to have so many positive things come in for you. And transforming your structure so that it better suits you is also important at this time. So this is your chance to make some major changes here in your life, probably for the rest of your life, depending how old you are. All right, next we're going to look at Aquarius. So Aquarius, it's your 12th house that you have all this action happening in. Now, Saturn will visit this a little bit in 2020, but it's not really till December 2020 that Saturn will be fully ensconced in Aquarius. So really 2021 may represent a time of a lot of things for you. It could be rewards because, hey, if you've been working hard, Saturn in your sign can bring you rewards, right? So that's 2021 we're looking at. But for this year with the 12th house is a house of rest. It's also a house of secrets being revealed, but it's also a house where we may decide to take up some kind of metaphysical thing. And this could be anything from you decided to set up some kind of spiritual practice where, say, you do a meditation that you do every day that really helps you with developing your inner spiritual side of yourself. It could have you interested in astrology or tarot or any of these kind of sciences, or even shamanism as well. And I think I've mentioned in previous videos too, it is even feng shui, where maybe you decide to take it more seriously and go through your whole house and set it up so that it's really vibrating to the highest level for you. For Pisces, it is your 11th house. And of course, Pisces, you have been entertaining Neptune in your 11th, in your sign for some time. So this will continue this legacy of you developing your spiritual self, right? So Neptune's still going to be staying in your sign for a few more years, but that's a background energy that's lovely for you. But it can also have another side to it as well, of course. Neptune can bring deception of sorts. It can even have you being deceived by people that you love. It could also talk to literally water, like take care with water in your home, for instance. But when we go back to this whole conglomeration of planets in Capricorn, which are in your 11th house, this really speaks to you making major transformations with regards to the structures that you use, with regards to the groups that you belong to, with regards to your friends. And from ancient astrology wisdom, it's also your hopes and wishes. So you may do some tinkering here of all these areas where you may, your friends may undergo some major transformation, or you may just change up all your friends as well as your groups. And then those hopes and wishes, you may also transform them. Maybe you'll start off January 2020 with a vision board that's completely different than what you had last year. That more accurately represents, what you want to get involved with. Your groups are what you get involved with, right? Your interests, right? So that probably is going to be the area that will be affected. Like I said, that Neptune there is going to be vibrating you at a very high spiritual level. It also means that you must pick the high road too. We don't want you going around doing deceptive things to people either. But it could bring a great love into your life as well. When we look at Aries, it's your 10th house of career. You also have Chiron here. It's just at the beginning degrees of Aries, but Chiron is all about healing, you personally healing, but then you may be providing healing to others as well. Maybe some kind of healing profession is something you may take up, or you just may bring in healing into your, and in Aries, this is like a new pioneering way of bringing healing. So certainly if you are a healer, you could get some great insight this year, maybe even creating a new way of healing and getting that out there to the world, right? Because the 10th house also represents where our midheaven is, and that's getting information out to the world. So it could have you in your career reaching out to the public and talking about your new way of healing. A good way to use that transformational energy that we have happening with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in your 10th house. For Taurus, it is your 9th house. Now, you already know that you've got Uranus here. Uranus, I think, will get up to, I'm not sure if it'll go as far as 12 degrees of Taurus this year, 2020, but it'll certainly make some progress this year in Taurus. So if you've got anything happening around, like say your sun in particular, or your ascendant, if you have that around up to the 10 degree mark, this could be a significant this year where major changes, many that may be unexpected, and it might be unexpected changes that you decide to make that people are surprised by, or unexpected changes that happen in the outside world that force you to do something different. And remember, all these changes, although initially may not feel great at the time, because they're unexpected, they're to get you to exactly where you want to be. So be patient when you have changes happening in your life, Taurus, and really, really believe that the changes are for your best. Just give it some patience and some time, and let it evolve into the new thing that you're supposed to be doing. This will work in conjunction with this 9th house, and having all those planets transforming your 9th house. Now the 9th house is, at its highest level, it's your loftier goals. You know, what legacy do I want to leave when I die? That type of thinking. But it also involves foreigners and foreign countries. It also could have you dealing with the law, and not necessarily in a bad way, but dealing with the law for some reason, and that process. But it can also have you deciding to go back to school and maybe get a degree, or maybe finishing off a degree. Maybe that's the process that you go through. I mean, Saturn will certainly give you the strength and the determination, and Pluto will give you the power. So if you are wrapping up some major changes with regards to educating yourself, this could be a great year for finishing up. For Gemini. Okay, well, Gemini, I already talked about it earlier. This is your 8th house. But before we get into the 8th house, you're going to have the north nodes of the moon in Gemini from approximately May 2020 for a year and a half. And then you're going to have the eclipses happening in your sign, as well as in your opposite sign of Sagittarius. So I ask you to look back to about 20 years ago. What themes were happening in your life? Because generally speaking, those will pop up again. They tend to take on a different hue, especially if in these 20 years you've truly worked on yourself and developed yourself into a higher level of being. This could take you to the next level. But that's exciting times for you, Gemini. Expect to be transformed the next year and a half. But you're going to have some major stuff happen for sure, even this year, where maybe surprisingly things that you didn't think were even going to happen, where you're all of a sudden, you know, transformed into something different, or your life transforms into something different that maybe you thought was going to happen later on, and it's sped up. You know, eclipses can do that too, can speed things up for you. All right, so it's the 8th house for you. And the 8th house represents a lot of things that you share with others. So that's maybe you've got a joint bank account with somebody. It can also be loans, you applying for loans and getting them this year. a line of credit, that type of thing. It can also classically bring in potentially an inheritance when you've got this area of your life highlighted, and certainly with Pluto there. Pluto rules this house, the 8th house, so there's an extra little bit of energy there contributing, but it could be, you know, people in power view you favorably and, you know, help you out. You may have people helping you out. As long as you're doing things above board. If you're not doing things above board, I can tell you Pluto will come in there and, you know, slap you into shape. But you could have some very powerful people or even powerful organizations come in and help you out this year, especially with regards to transforming your monies that you save. So it could be you going to an institution and deciding to put in more money into these institutions or savings or investments to save more money. It can also bring in, like I said, inheritance. So an inheritance obviously is only gotten when someone actually dies. So this is not you dying, but sometimes it'll bring in something like that for us. It can also be a time when you transform your inner thinking. You know, the 8th house is our psychological selves too. So it could be a great time for any kind of therapy, especially with regards to transforming our inner ways of thinking. But it could involve you too just taking up this study and maybe teaching yourself or having a guru in your life. Saturn and Jupiter can bring in a guru for you that really helps you with your psychological selves and gives you a new optimistic and positive outlook. For Cancer, we're looking at your 7th house. Now you've had this ongoing for some time because you've had Pluto here for a long time, since 2008, 2009, transforming this area of your life. And now we've got Saturn definitely in here, and then Jupiter's joined it. So a lot of activity with regards to partnerships, period. This is business partnerships. This is your marriage partnerships or any kind of serious partnerships where you're living together. It can be friendships to some extent too, but really we're looking at business and marriage partnerships normally. You have the north nodes of the moon that will be leaving your sign in May 2020. So you've just gone through a lot of major changes. You won't have these north nodes of the moon come back into your sign for another 20 years. So really you're set up now for the next 20 years. So in many respects, you're going to be easing into a new way of being, especially with regards to these partnerships. You may have a new partnership. You may have had one old partnership go and a new one come in. You could have transformed a partnership. You could have transformed a business. Maybe you've taken on even more partners in a partnership for business. And now you can see this year as you starting to operate more with making more money perhaps. And maybe some more structures. Maybe you'll build more businesses as a result of it. But certainly this is going to be a wrap-up year for you with regards to relationships of any sort. For Leo, it is your 6th house. And the 6th house has a lot to do with really your health, but it is your day-to-day work and day-to-day habits as well. So I would say that this year is really about you continuing to transform these areas. Now with Jupiter there, it could have you putting on some weight because Jupiter does expand everything it touches. And I think every time Jupiter's in my 6th house, I know I gain weight of some sort or I expand, like I get pregnant or something. And I haven't got any fears of that. But that's typically, classically, what you could have happened was you could gain weight. Now maybe you need to gain weight. It could be muscle weight. For instance, you take up bodybuilding of some sort and you become this professional bodybuilder where you put weight on to look good. That can be happening too. But certainly you are going to continue to have expansion with regards to your health. So this will be to you taking on better nutrition. This is you taking on a consistent exercise program. But it could also have you bringing these things into your work area or somehow incorporating them into your day-to-day work. This is going to be important for you this year, where you transform these areas of your life. Now, with Jupiter in there now for the first time, in 12 years. It could also have some good luck come your way with regards to maybe letting go of something that's been a burden for you. So you can also be carrying burdens in this house unnecessarily in the 6th house. So it could have you letting something go that maybe never was yours to begin with, but you got saddled with. So Leo, you could have something leave your life. A stroke of good luck could come in with Jupiter in this house. When we look at Virgo, we are now looking at your 5th house. So the 5th house is a really fun house. Literally, it's fun. So it's you now this year saying, I need to have more fun. I need to stop doing all this hard work that I've been doing. There's nothing wrong with working hard, Virgo, but you as a sign are known as hard workers. So I would say having these planets in your house, especially Jupiter in there, saying, let's have some fun. But it's also going to have you get the inspiration to really express your authentic self. So at the bottom of it, the 5th house really asks you to express your authentic self, to be creative. You may just surprise a lot of people and start creating masterpieces, right? You may actually start doing that. Now, you could also have a child come into your life. For some reason, there may be a child highlighted. It could literally be that you have a new child, but it could be that maybe a child comes back into your life for some reason that you have to attend to. But I would say it's going to be some good luck for you with Jupiter there. But it'll expand this whole area of children. It'll expand your whole area of expressing your authentic self, expand your creativity, and expand your need for having fun. Remember that. Have some fun, Virgo. For Libra, it's your 4th house. The 4th house literally is the home. It's the home that you live in, but it's also your childhood home. So I would say, with Jupiter here especially, you could literally be expanding your home. Now, this could be you expanding your home by construction and making it bigger, or it could be that you add more people to your home, where you have to accommodate more people in your home for some reason. But there will be a transformation that happens as a result of it in the home. Now, the other thing too is that you could set up structures in your home where you work from your home, right? So Saturn is work, so you could have to expand more of this work from home. Maybe last year you started to work 1 day a week at home. Now you're finding that you're working 3 days a week at home. So it could be that type of expansion as well. It could have you going to a foreign country. That's where your home is. Jupiter rules foreign places and foreign people. So it could be that you decide to transport yourself to a whole different country, and that's where your home is. Now, it also rules higher education, so that transforming and transporting could be to a university where you actually take up some new type of philosophy or new type of studies. For Scorpio, we've got your 3rd house. 3rd house is all about communications. It's your neighborhood. It is the neighbors in your neighborhood. It is your siblings, brothers and sisters. So with Jupiter here, and Saturn and Pluto, but Jupiter being the new addition to this house, I think this could see you maybe mastering and putting together some courses that are available for people to watch, and they may be all about communication style, where you put together some great learning tools to help people speak better, maybe even to have more optimistic thinking. All that type of thing could be in the mix for you here on one level with the 3rd house. But with Saturn and Pluto in the mix, it could have some kind of major transformation in your neighborhood that gets bigger. Jupiter expands that. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It just may mean that the neighborhood becomes bigger. There's more construction in your neighborhood. And it may not be a bad thing. Maybe there's a lot more shops that come in that you actually need, that your neighbors need. So it could be that as well. So there's a couple things that this house rules. And I've now addressed both of those things for you. But you could have a new way of just literally presenting yourself and speaking and thinking. Sagittarius, it's your second house. So Sagittarius, you are going to have the south nodes of the moon from May 2020 onwards for a year and a half. So when we talk about the south nodes, we're talking about letting go, right? It's where we naturally default to, and it's where we're usually really good at doing things. We don't even have to second think things. We just automatically know how to do things. And that's not such a bad thing to have that. But for the next year and a half, you're going to be asked to let go of some of those things and then point more at the north nodes, which are going to be in Gemini. Gemini is more about the thinking and speaking and dealing with groups. I'll speak more about the north nodes going to Gemini in another video, but I just wanted to give you the heads up that that's going to be there for you. But you're also going to have eclipses too. So you're having eclipses in Sagittarius and then in your opposite sign of Gemini this year. So this is a change year for you too. Now you've just entertained Jupiter, the ruler of your sign, in Sagittarius last year, 2019. So you should be coming off into 2020. I get this picture of a magic carpet ride. I don't know why I got that, but I did. But this should be a year of great progress for you, Sagittarius. Now the second house is mainly covering the money that you make. I would expect that if you did your work last year in 2019 of setting up or transforming some structures in your life to set up a new stream of income or even an additional stream of income, that this could pay off for you in 2020 because Jupiter is the ruler of your sign, and now in your second house is going to be increasing the money that you make. Just straight off on the surface, that's what it's going to be doing. Now, the other thing it can be doing at a more altruistic level is your values could also be given a little bit of a boost, where you change some of your values to a much higher level, where maybe you're thinking of others a little bit more than not just yourself. Okay? It also rules beauty. So again, on the surface, it could be you beautifying yourself, where you actually spend money on beauty to make yourself look better. So there may be an element of that there as well. There's going to be some kind of transformation, though, of the structures. I mean, literally, your skin is a structure too, right? But there's going to be some kind of transformation there with regards to your values, the beauty, your beauty, and then your money. Your money's going to increase this year for sure. All right, I think we've covered everybody. Leave me any comments that you have. I'm going to continue to keep you guys informed as best I can. You'll see me more and more coming on board with little videos. I'll be getting more videos on Instagram as well for you. I'm settling into a new role as well, putting a lot more time now into astrology, but it's taken a little bit of effort when you've got to come out of corporate into now a whole different scenario, but I'm absolutely loving it, and I encourage people to, this year to try to really expand your structures to suit who you are, really expressing your inner self of who you are and not to be afraid of that. I will see you guys later. Leave me comments and questions that you might have. I'm very happy to help you out wherever I can. Take care of yourself. Don't forget to breathe. And don't forget to do your meditation practices. Bye for now. I'm going to see you soon.